Hey everyone, the Grand Bastardo here. I'd like to take a moment to completely derail any momentum that Rob had going for himself in terms of getting around to talking about the hardware and software he uses to power his digital life, and use hardware as an analogy for the current status of most of our collective digital lives. I'd call this a monologue if that wasn't pretentious enough to make you want to throw up in your own stomach, and I'd call it a rant if I wasn't just so fucking eloquent and shit like that. So let's embrace the middle ground between the elegance of formality and common crassness and call this my digital life, uncensored. A word of warning before I get this underway if I can, and I can, because this is my video and there isn't a goddamn thing you can do about it. This is going to trigger all the broflakes in the audience who are going to cry and whine like babies about things being too woke. And with the number of likes and dislikes hidden from view, the only way for you intellectually bankrupt mouth breathers to cry to mommy is by leaving comments on the video, which will only boost engagement, increase my visibility, and make me even more powerful. So cry harder, broflakes. I'll use your tears to make my morning coffee. On with the video. So as the world is, at least as of the time of the making of this video, collectively seeking refuge from the gross incompetence and irrefutable stupidity of everyone's favorite billionaire man-baby buffoon Elon Musk, and carefully trying not to step in the leadership at Twitter. In what will hopefully be the final nail in the coffin of the great man theory of leadership, man-baby Musk's display of hubris and colossal idiocy is putting a very harsh spotlight on the reality of our digital lives, the continued accelerated fragmentation of our leisure time in the digital and bona fide worlds we occupy. This fragmentation is nothing new, of course. Multinational media conglomerates have been embracing this model for almost half a decade, if not more. We've gone from the phone/internet/cable TV bundle monolith paradigm to slowly evolving toward our modern-day reality of needing to subscribe to multiple streaming services in the hopes of being able to follow whichever pop culture signifiers bring us joy. Each, naturally, run by its own parent company. Each, naturally, with its own pricing and subscription structure. And each with their own policies toward geo-locking content, meaning that even after spending on multiple services, there could be a further requirement of an investment in a reputable VPN service to be able to realize the full potential of what you're paying for. Assuming, of course, that the VPN isn't blocked by the streaming service of your choice. Much like disk fragmentation, the fragmentation of digital spaces, whether for entertainment or otherwise, only slows things down to a crawl and makes getting anything done a complete fucking slog. But for however egregious the situation is for pop culture media consumption, and it's conspicuously dogshit, make no mistake, the shift toward fragmentation in the online social media landscape is far more dystopic. Let me explain. I don't expect people in, let's say, India, to donate a single fuck to the cause of concerning themselves with whether or not my white privileged ass can watch the newest entry in the MCU zeitgeist, or my being able to catch reruns of The Beachcombers, any more than they would expect me to care about the latest and greatest Bollywood mega production or a classic TV series like Malgudi Days. Canada and India, for all their similarities in having once been British colonies, have significantly different cultures and tastes in terms of what constitutes popular media. Fragmentation of popular media is more of a regional concern. What affects one generally won't impact the other, apart from bringing both nations closer together in a mutual distrust and scorn toward multinational media conglomerates. On the other hand, the fragmentation of social media has profound and near limitless consequences. Social media platforms such as Twitter are where people learn of and subsequently discuss world events as they happen. It has allowed activists to coordinate protests against totalitarian regimes and report in real time on the atrocities committed by these same regimes. And in spite of those acting in bad faith to spread misinformation and coordinated messages of hate, it is still one of the best tools that we have to keep those fighting the good fight in the loop, and one of the widest reaching platforms for calls to action against bad faith actors and oppressive entities. Of course, this will likely come off as hyperbolic bullshit to some who no doubt feel that this is no big deal. Plenty of social media sites have come and gone since the dawn of the digital age. I mean, just in my own lifetime I've seen the rise and fall of Usenet, the BBS, MIRC, Yahoo and AOL messengers, GeoCities, ICQ, Friendster, MySpace, and God knows how many other social media platforms. So what's the big deal? People will move on to the next platform of choice and life will go on, won't they? And I mean, sure, you can make that argument if you're an idiot. Twitter has woven itself not only into the social media landscape but the corporate landscape as well. In the business world, if you don't have a branded Twitter account, you're not considered to be legitimate as a business entity. It's ubiquitous to the point of there being Twitter handles on printed billboards and bus stop posters. Twitter is inescapable as a platform, hashtags and all. In the private media space, it's a place to speak openly and critically about government and industry. and that's where Twitter's biggest loss would be felt. If there's one lesson that recent history has been trying to smash into our soft gray matter with a sledgehammer, it's that the would-be oligarchs have a very, very thin skin when it comes to criticism. The mass deactivation of Twitter accounts mocking Elon Musk in the wake of his declaring that comedy is now legal again on Twitter only serves to illustrate that this socially illiterate fucknut has an ego more delicate than the wings of angels dancing on top his pinhead. Billionaires are buying up avenues of communication to make it easier to silence their critics and amplify their narrative, which is increasingly further and further away from the public interest. Sure, netizens will find other points to gather and rally against intellectually underdeveloped and emotionally stunted imbecile jack-offs like Elon Musk and his sycophant legion of the living brain dead, but what won't be there for them is mainstream exposure. Speech will be as free as it wants to be, but there will be no focal point and no mainstream visibility. Splintering a unified voice onto multiple smaller platforms reduces any outrage expressed on those individual platforms as a fringe movement of a few radicals and disempowers anyone who would challenge the status quo. It's a digital death by 1,000 cuts and paste. I don't really have a punchline for this, so instead allow me to thank you for your time in listening to this, and that in all sincerity, fuck Elon Musk.